Hey, let's talk about something that happened in Canada yesterday. This was enormous, and it doesn't. It sort of pales in comparison to the news we hear coming out of the United States every day, the political scene here. And I'm in the States right now, by the way. But in Canada, we had an election in Ontario. It was a provincial election, and as you know, because you've heard me melt down over this on your show on the Freedom Friday many times, but the Liberal Party. A party named after a mental disorder, by the way. Let me talk a little bit about that, because I kind of feel like what happened yesterday, I played a small part in that through education. Educating people on the difference between liberalism and conservatism, okay? Liberalism, and I say that the Liberal Party is named after a mental disorder, and people say, wait a minute, the Liberal Party, yes, it is. And then I launch into my education seminar, and see light bulbs going on over people's heads, as they go, wait a minute, this really makes a lot of sense, right? Because liberalism is defined, and you go to dictionary.com, or even Wikipedia uses the exact same language. Liberalism is defined as the unrestricted development in all spheres of human endeavor. Unrestricted development in all spheres of human. Think about what that means. Unrestricted development in all spheres of human. No restrictions, Brandon, on anything ever.
Just do what you want to do. Just a free for all.
As soon as you introduce restrictions, you're practicing conservatism. For example, if you're a purist liberal, and you get your driver's license and you don't stop at any stop signs because those are restrictions, right?
Right.
You don't stop at red lights. You don't pay any attention to those white and yellow lines on the road. What's going to happen? You're either going to hurt yourself, hurt somebody else, kill somebody, get pulled over, and eventually, at the very least, lose your driving privileges. Because driving safely depends on a conservative mindset. If you want to conserve your driving privileges, you obey the stop signs and the traffic laws and everything. As Margaret Thatcher said, the facts of life are conservative, right? So this is the education that I've been getting through in my little part around Canada, educating people on the facts of life when it comes to politics and political worldviews, okay?
Now Canada is a very liberal nation as a whole, correct?
Canada has a very conservative population, but an apathetic, uninvolved population when it comes to politics.
Thus a very liberal government.
And when conservatives are quiet, as Edmund Burke said, evil can only succeed if good men are silent, right?
Right.
And that has been the problem in Canada. People, they get to go fishing, they get to have some beer and watch some hockey. They don't show up at the voting booths as long as they get those three things. It's crazy. The apathy in Canada is a disease. And that's another thing that I've been trying to drive home to these people. You have got to get up. I launched a voting campaign in Ontario the last month or so, and people actually got out and voted. I dragged my whole family to the voting booth in pre-election voting. I said, we're going to vote. That's all. My son wasn't registered. He registered. And when he voted, I said, hey, we have a first-time voter here, and he got a standing ovation.
Wow.
Because the people that work in the voting areas, these are volunteers. These are the few people who are actually passionate about, about voting, right? Still, right? And so anyway, we voted, and it looks like some of that apathy might be eroding in Canada. Because yesterday was voting day in the province of Ontario. The Liberal Party has held Canadians hostage in Ontario for the last 15 years, Brandon. Today, the results were in. The Conservative Party is now back in charge. The adults are now back in charge of Ontario. And the federal election is next year. We're hoping that the Conservatives will sweep the country next year.
So will you guys next year, will that be your prime minister election? Will that be your opportunity to get rid of Trudeau?
That's exactly right. That's next year.
Gotcha. Yeah. And Trudeau, for those people that don't know, is extremely liberal.
He's a communist.
Basically, yes. And he has, of course, done all of the things that a good, loving liberal would do. And he's welcomed, radical Islam into your country. And he's told little boys that they can be little girls and dress like little girls and on and on and on down the rabbit hole. So just for people that don't know, right now, your leader is extremely liberal in his thinking and in his leadership of the entire country.
Well, and he came out in an interview last year in favor of gendercide.
I remember that.
Question,
yes.
He was asked the question, if a woman came to you and said she wants to abort her baby, based the only parameter being that it will be a female, it'll be born a female, would you be okay with her aborting this child? And he said yes.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that. That's gendercide. If you want to kill your baby simply because it's a female, that's gendercide. And by the way, killing your baby in the womb through abortion clinics, basically you're just hiring a hitman to kill your baby. That's all you're doing. It's murder. That's what it is. It's murder. And the Canadian government murders its unborn children at the rate of 33% every year.
Yeah. And it's about the same here in the United States. Yeah. Yeah, it's about, I think that percentage is about the same here in the United States. It's about 1 in 3.
So it looks like there's a movement now in Canada. This guy who won, his name is Doug Ford, okay? And he is the brother of the now deceased Rob Ford, who was mayor of Toronto. And he got caught doing some pretty heavy-duty drugs and hanging out with prostitutes, even though he was married. And they're both members of the Conservative Party. And I was interviewed by CBC Radio about Doug Ford and the Conservative Party, and I said, look, the best thing Rob Ford, Doug Ford is the new premier. I was interviewed about Rob Ford when it came out about all of his improprieties, and I said, look, the best thing that Rob Ford could do for the Conservative Party is to quit the Conservative Party, join the Liberal Party, because now they have to give him a pass, because he's acting like a liberal. If he stands before a judge and says, the judge says, why are you doing all these things? Well, I'm a liberal. That's what liberalism is. This is what liberals do. The best thing for him to do would be to do that, and then get some help, get some counseling, maybe go to the Little Green Barn, and the Little Blue Barn, rather, Redeem Ministries, contact them, and get some help, and then go back to the Conservative Party and say, hey, I had a problem. Now I've gotten help. I'm clean. I'm free. I'm no longer a liberal.
Amen, brother. You just said a mouthful right there. It's amazing because if you were to remove the word Canada from everything that you have just said, you've described the United States in so many ways,
right?
Because we have been taken over for so many years by liberalism and by a socialist progressive movement, because the conservatives, the Christians, the churches sat around and did nothing, and were told that we shouldn't be involved in politics, that will just work itself out, it'll be okay. And then, of course, we finally, under Barack Obama, just get completely fed up and elect Donald Trump as president, and you've seen a sweeping movement of conservative candidates around the country, which now we're seeing the trickle-down effects of that around the world, I would say. Some of this is going on in the EU. Of course, now you're telling this firsthand about this going on in Canada. So, listen, I'm not oblivious to the way that this world is going and will continue to go, in that things will get worse. It's just a fact. We are devolving, not evolving. There's a topic for maybe the next segment. But
right.
but the reality is that we are seeing maybe one last great conservative movement around the world. And what an interesting time!
Exactly right.
What an interesting time to be alive right now.
It is really, because the Liberal Party, there was over 100 seats for grabs yesterday. The Liberal Party got 7.
Wow!
7 seats. The Conservative Party got I think 76 seats, and then the NDP, the New Democrat Party, which is a hyper-liberal party, they got 40. So it was a clean sweep there. The Conservative Party, the grown-ups have taken back Ontario.
American Survival Wholesale is proud to sponsor this ministry and their efforts to shed light on the issues that face our nation. As a veteran and Christian-owned and operated company, we support the freedom to express these Christian principles. We all understand the importance of being prepared. After witnessing the devastation of Hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and the wildfires that affected so many, please support this ministry by clicking on the link below and check out the amazing alt media package for our listeners. Plus, if you use the promo code PNN Radio, that's PNN Radio, you will receive free shipping, a savings of up to $200. Just click on the link below, but please do it today. Your support means so much to this channel.